I'm going to show you now bit of white line inlaying in this tapered mahogany leg. What I'm going to do is going to inlay it with this 1.5mm boxwood white lining, and what I've done so far is I've marked out, I hope you can see, where I'm going to put the inlay in pen so it's easy to follow when I do it, and it's just square at the top and tapered down to about 3 inches off the tip of the leg. Now then, I'm going to do this with a scratch. A lot of people will reach for a router straight away, but this is a method I learned a long time ago. When I started work, a router was a pretty rare beast and not many people had them, and most inlaying was done like this. Now what I've got here is a marking gauge. That's the gauge with a spike sticking out the bottom, but at the other end there's normally the end of the pin sticking up. So what I've done there is I've ground that pin to about 1.5mm in width, and the section of that is it's kind of rectangular, but because it's been ground, it's very sharp, and that will scratch out the channel for the white line to go in. So what I'll do is I'll set that up, my pen mark, and lock it off, and then because it's sharp, it's quite an easy matter of just getting at the stock and pushing. Now I hope you can hear and maybe see that it's quite an easy job scratching out that channel. It'd be better if I had it in a vice, but you won't be able to see so well, so bear with me. That's coming out quite nicely, and I hope you can see that there. It's quite a sharp edge to it. I don't go all the way up there, so I'll just finish this off and turn the camera off, because you don't really need to see it. It'll be quite boring. So now I hope you can see pretty well that that's all the straight channels done. One's going with the grain, and that didn't take long. And if you can use a marking gauge, you can certainly do that. Now we'll go across grain, and what you're going to need is a Stanley knife, a square, and a bit of white line. So what I'll do is I'll just break a piece off, and I put my square on the pen mark and draw the Stanley knife across. Put the bit of white line on, bring the Stanley knife up to it, and then knife that across. Right, I've cut reasonably deeply into there, and now you can just flick away the bit you don't need. Now that's nearly done. But what I've also got here is this little tool you make up, and that's just the handle of a bradawl, and on the end I've put a screw in, cut the head off, and I've ground that as well. So that's about 1.5 mil across there. It's quite a bit longer, so it's really a reasonable rectangular section, and that we'll use for cleaning this out. So if I put it in, press reasonably hard and drag it backwards, I'm cleaning all the muck out from in that channel that I've previously cut. Now in the corners here, to keep them nice and sharp, just get in there with a Stanley knife, cut it out nice and neat on both sides, because you can't go right into the corners really with the marking gauge. And then once you're in there, get this, I call it a pick, but other people will call it something else, and shove it in right in the corner there, drag it back, shove it in and drag it back. Now because that's rectangular, if you need to widen your channel a little bit, all you need to do is stick it in there, give it a bit of a twist and drag it down, and that will make it a little bit wider if you need to ease that for yourself. But it's a pretty simple tool, you'll have to make for yourself, but it'll take no time at all. Now you can use that to drag right down your long length and clear any muck out that's in there. Just like that, and it works quite well. I'll show you one more on here. There's no point in doing all four. Again, line up with the pen, drag it across, put your white line on there, Stanley knife up to it, knife it across again. Press down quite firmly and drag it back, and then just flick the bits out you don't need, in with that tool again, press it in, drag it back, finish the corners off with the Stanley knife and the pick. Right, so now I've taken all the channels out and they're quite clean. That's all been done using the scratch, the Stanley knife and the pick. So now to put the white line in, you're going to need a glue bottle with a fairly fine nozzle, and you flood these channels with white PVA glue. If I can get any glue out the damn thing. There you go. Take yourself a small pin hammer with a flat pin on it and do the short cross grain pieces first. Tap that in. Another piece of white line. Tap that in, and we'll go. And then do the long pieces. Same idea. Tap it, push it in with the heel of the hammer. It all goes in quite nicely if you've done the right size channel. It's quite snug. There you go. And now for the miters. Take your Stanley knife, stand over the top of the white line, line the corners up with the Stanley knife, give it a firm press down, and you've gone through. Do all four corners like that. The hammer, tap them down, so that's in. Get the heel of the hammer and press it. Now you don't want this to press it down too much, you want this to be standing proud a bit, because you're going to have to sand that down flush tomorrow morning. Do the other corners the same. little bit out there, unfortunately. Trying to do it too quick. Same there. Give it a tap. Let's try to bounce out. Press it down firmly. Press it down firmly. Get yourself a damp rag. Wipe the excess glue off. And see that? Doesn't stand up quite nicely. Do the same with the taper part. Flood it with glue. Made a bit of a mess there, but never mind. And then the small bit at the bottom of the leg here can be a bit tricky because it's a bit tight, but give it a little tap and that's alright. And at the top there, another bit of a tap as well. Okay, now the long length, push it in there, heel of the hammer, and there you go, that's gone in there really nice. While I'm here, I'll just do that mitre at the bottom. That wee tap, we know that's okay. Same again at the top there. Tap in, and the other side. And press it in. Firmly. Try not to break it because it's a bit brittle, this white line, and you can break it when you're pushing it in. But if you do, just throw another piece on and mitre it halfway up the length like I did there, and you'll barely see it once you've polished it. And again, that's it. Clean it off, and that's done. You just damp rag, which I hadn't prepared, wipe it off. There you go, hope you can see that. Once that's sanded in the morning, that'll look fine. And it's quite easy to do. You don't need a router. It's fairly simple tools. And just one more thing while I'm talking to you. If you need to do a curve at all, and you've got a pair of old dividers, if you just grind down one of these legs for your scratch, and it's quite easy to get any radius you like just by scratching it round. And if you're doing a curve and it's quite tight, you need to take your white line and soak it in hot water to make it more pliable. Then you can get round a tight curve. It'll all dry off in the morning, and that will be fantastic. There you go. Hope that's helped you. Thanks for watching.